very productive press briefing so that we can encourage our fans and get everybody ready for game day, which is just around the corner. So we do this each year primarily so that we can ask the media to help us to enlist the support of our fans to come in to our Super Bowl events and our Super Bowl game day so we can have a very efficient and effective security process going through. We do this not only to reassure the fans that we have a very safe event planned for them, but also that this is not going to be a security event that makes it inconvenient for them to come in and enjoy the game. While the primary law enforcement responsibility here is, as always, our state and local law enforcement on the ground, we do have significant support from our federal government. In demonstrating that support today, we have the privilege of having Chip Fulgham here with us, who is the Deputy Secretary for the Department of Homeland Security, and he has traveled to Houston to come out and review our security plans. We took a nice walk through the stadium this morning, went through in great detail all the assets that he has supported us with here, and I'm going to invite him up to kick this off and to talk about that security support that we've received from the Department of Homeland Security. Yep.
Thank you, Kathy. Good afternoon. Oh, we're not. All right, we're going to get it again. So it is a privilege to be here today on behalf of Secretary John Kelly and our over 229,000 DHS employees who are dedicated each and every day to protecting the homeland. It is great to be in Houston, but I got to tell you there's one thing that would be better, and that's my team, the Houston Texans. We're in the game. Maybe next year. Clearly, this is a big event. 100 million viewers, 73,000 folks at the game. All eyes around the world will be on this event. And so we need to make sure that we are prepared. And I got to tell you, this morning, walking around with Kathy, we are prepared. First of all, let me say thanks to the Chief, his entire Houston Police Department, and the greater Houston area public safety personnel, and all the folks who have been involved in this, in preparing for this event. Also, I want to recognize the NFL Senior VP, Kathy Lanier, our FBI partners, and the tremendous work they've done to help make this event secure. As Kathy and I were talking this morning, Kathy and the Department of Homeland Security have a long relationship given her past in the Washington Metropolitan Police Department. We had a very good discussion this morning about the security and the preparations that have gone underway and how all agencies have come together to work together to make sure this event is a success. I want to make clear that while there are no known credible threats, obviously there's an extremely high-profile event. Our intel and law enforcement communities at the federal, state, and local levels are working together to ensure security throughout the event. You know, as Vince Lombardi said, people who work together will win. That's exactly what we're doing. In addition to the Houston Police Department, the NFL, the FBI, we have over 41 federal agencies and departments, including 25 DHS agencies supporting this event. We've worked together to build a comprehensive security plan with support from over 1,000 public safety officers. We have visible security and behind-the-scenes security as well. The department will support with technology, tactical assets, counter-cyber attack resources, and our Homeland Security information sharing capabilities. As Kathy said, security is always our top priority, and we look to balance that with minimal inconvenience to the fans as they experience the event. And speaking of the fans, they are a tremendous resource to ensure the safe and secure game. They are, in fact, our extra eyes and ears. I urge each of you to remember, if you see something, say something, and act by immediately reporting to local authorities. Public safety is all of our responsibility collectively. Thank you, and I look forward to a safe and secure event.
Thank you very much. So the culmination of months of shared effort by our public safety team gives the NFL a great deal of confidence in the level of security we have going forward not just for the game day, but for what's going on the days leading up to game day. We've made extraordinary requests of our public safety community here in Houston to help keep us safe, and I can speak with confidence for Commissioner Goodell in saying that we are deeply appreciative, Art, of all of the leadership and resources and attention to detail that has been put forth by our local public safety partners here in Houston. Very early in the planning process, public safety authorities led by a coalition of law enforcement and joined by Texas Governor Greg Abbott to request federal support for this event. As a result, the Super Bowl 51 has been designated as a Tier 1 national security event. As a part of the federal government's assistance, the Secretary appointed Sean McElroy from the Department of Homeland Security as the federal coordinator to support us in this area for the Super Bowl activities and game day. So I'll now ask Mr. McElroy to offer his remarks.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Deputy Secretary Fulgham, Ms. Lanier, distinguished guests and visitors. Thank you for joining us. With 5 days before the big game, I would like to welcome you to Houston for Super Bowl 51. My name is Sean McElroy, and I'm the Deputy Special Agent in charge with Homeland Security Investigations here in Houston, Texas, and I am honored to serve as the Department of Homeland Security's federal coordinator in support of Super Bowl 51. As the designated representative for DHS, my primary responsibility is to ensure for public safety and security efforts are supported, which are being led specifically by the Houston Police Department, the Houston Fire Department, the City of Houston, Harris County, and the National Football League. An event of this magnitude requires federal coordination. This year alone, we have more than 40 agencies participating and collaborating with our state and local partners. While the security plan for Super Bowl 51 was being completed, the federal team was hard at work securing previous Super Bowls. The federal government remains committed to working with our state and local and private sector partners to bring about a safe and secure Super Bowl. And the City of Houston and the NFL leadership continue to work as one cohesive unit to ensure that this Super Bowl will be memorable and enjoyable for all. So thank you from all of our federal partners and the Department of Homeland Security for the opportunity to support this incredible occasion. Thank you.
So the Houston Police Department is the lead law enforcement agency for all the events related to Super Bowl 51 and is led by my good friend, and what I like to say is the second best police chief that I know, Art Acevedo. Although I have to say now, he is the best police chief that I know. So I will turn this over to Art and let him provide some comments.
I want to give you a hug. Let's give Kathy a big hand, everybody. She's a heck of a partner and a great leader. Thank you for your partnership. And before I make my comments, Secretary, thank you for being here. And just from the bottom of my heart, it just seems that what we enjoy in this country, which is second to none, is kind of like the DOD finally figured it out. We are a team. That we may have different shields and we may come from different organizations, but we have one singular focus. And so to the Secretary, please extend our deep appreciation on behalf of the Mayor, Mayor Turner, and our council, and just all the men and women here. Sheriff, our federal partner, and Perry. Our fire chief is back here. Chief Bunick from the police department really took a lead role. And our DA, who has been phenomenal. She and I kind of hit the ground running, and it's great to have you here as well. But I want to just go over briefly where we're at. So far, I can say that I'm going to grade our efforts through today as an A-. The reason we're going to give an A- is there's always room for improvement, and I don't want our folks to rest on our laurels. But so far, it's been very successful. Coming into the Super Bowl, one of the things that we talked about in terms of this event and in terms of this city, of this state, and this nation, that human trafficking is a challenge, that no matter what the event is, large events brings that type of activity. And our community has had a great interest in trying to prevent that from happening, disrupt that kind of behavior and conduct, and more importantly, try to rescue people. And last week, we had a press conference where we promised we were going to start putting people on notice that the Johns that are coming here, the people that are going to be here soliciting that kind of behavior, in many cases from women that are actually being forced into trafficking, that we're going to be releasing photos, and that's coming here in the near future. So I'm going to reiterate to people coming here from outside the city, from within the city, from out the state, from out of the country, that unless you want to find your picture out there exposed, do not solicit. What we've had so far in terms of public safety arrests is, as of Friday here in this operational footprint, we've had 5 petty theft and the NFL experience arrests by our personnel, including 1 pickpocketer, 1 individual for interfering, trying to get in without a ticket. That person actually was detained, and mental illness happened to be his biggest problem, so we dealt with it separately. We've had 1 PI, which is a public intoxication, that was taken to our sobering center, and we've made 6 trademark counterfeiting arrests. That's 6 individuals that have been selling counterfeit products that led to the seizure of 10,000 items with a retail value of $500,000. So we're not going to let people steal the intellectual properties of folks that actually own those rights. We've had 38 prostitution arrests, and that includes people from over half a dozen states. Some are here for the Super Bowl, because we've asked that question, some are not. But again, the most important piece of that operation, and Captain Harris is here from our Vice Division, is the fact that we've actually been able to recover 3 adult females that have been trafficking victims, including 1 that was a 19-year-old female. And again, that is not a victimless crime, and one we'll take very seriously and will continue to very rigorously enforce. The last thing I want to say in terms of our preparation, we know that we've had demonstrations, things of that nature. The Houston Police Department has an absolute foolproof plan with our federal, county, state, and local partners that includes enough resources at every one of our venues for those resources to, with operational discipline, we'll be able to handle anything that goes on in the city. I want to thank all the police agencies at every level of government that are here from outside the city and outside the state for being here. But again, we're prepared. We're prepared to respond to any eventuality. And if you can see, this is definitely a multidisciplinary approach to keeping this Super Bowl safe. So thank you all for being here, and I look forward to taking questions.
You know, also assisting us in our efforts, I mentioned earlier several federal agencies here, but the FBI is especially important given their counterterrorism responsibilities on the upfront. So helping us with intelligence threat detection so that we are prepared for the security parameters that we need for this game. So at this time, I'd like to ask Perry with an E, Turner, Special Agent in charge of Houston Field Office from the FBI, to please come up and say a few words.
Thank you, Kathy. And for the record, that's Perry Turner, as in Perry Mason. My comments are very brief. First of all, good afternoon, and I would like to thank all my partners in law enforcement, federal, state, local, also the NFL. They've been great partners. First of all, I want to recognize my ASAC, Mr. Mark Webster. He's been the lead coordinator for the FBI Super Bowl 51 response. Mark, could you please stand and wave? He's done a great job. But speaking on behalf of the men and women of FBI Houston, we are proud to serve alongside the men and women of this strong, cooperative public service community. In my 25 years with the FBI, this has been one of the best experiences I've ever had as far as law enforcement collaboration to include private sector at all levels. Our personnel have been working extremely hard to ensure not only the safety of this weekend's big game, but each and every event leading up to it. FBI support for Super Bowl 51 is a team effort. We're sharing intelligence and providing additional manpower, such as technical, analytical, and other resources. All FBI assets are in place and ready to respond immediately to address any safety concerns. Rest assured, our expertise is in place here in the greater Houston area every day, and of course, for this Sunday's game. At this time, there are no credible threats to our events that are known to us. However, protecting our city is a partnership among law enforcement and the public. As always, we ask everyone to remain aware of their surroundings. If you see something or know something, please say something. We hope you don't see us this week, but know that we are there. I am a diehard New Orleans Saints fans, but I would like to end by saying good luck to both teams and may the best team win. Thank you.
I, on the other hand, like all teams equally, and would like to ask another one of our key public safety partners from the Harris County Sheriff's Office, led by Sheriff Ed Gonzalez. Sheriff Gonzalez, come up and speak.
Thank you, Kathy. Appreciate it. Welcome to Houston in Super Bowl 51, my hometown, so very proud to welcome everyone here. I want to recognize our lead coordinator for the Sheriff's Office, Chief Darrell Coleman. If you could please wave. Thank you. He's been on the job now for more than a year, specifically focusing on Super Bowl and making sure that our efforts are successful. And similar to any successful football team, you want all phases of the game working, offense, defense, and special teams. And I think you've heard today that that's exactly what we're doing. We're making sure that not only the lead agency, but our local, state, and federal partners are all working in sync, communicating, and knowing our respective roles to make sure that we have a successful public safety presence and footprint, and that's what we're doing. We at the Sheriff's Office are helping on a support capacity, primarily dealing with team hotels, with some escorts, and also providing K-9 deputies at various activity centers, and so far everything's off to a good start, and we hope to make sure that continues through the rest of the week, and that we have a very successful game at the end of the on Sunday. And obviously we're all fans as well, so we're going to be rooting teams on, but at the end of the day it's all about public safety, and I can assure you that it's all under control and everyone's doing a good job, starting from Kathy all the way on down. And we also need the public to participate, to be mindful of some of the traffic that may occur, to try to use public transportation. That's what we're encouraging, and also to plan ahead. You know, we're just expecting obviously traffic and other things to happen. So I want everyone to be following local news, other social media channels, to make sure they're getting the latest information. So thank you very much, and we're looking forward to a very successful and safe Super Bowl 51. Thank you.
And just real quick, the incredible team from the NFL, I'm very fortunate that the team that the NFL has assembled to help coordinate the security has a just very broad security background. Dan Donahue is behind me, our lead planner from the NFL, former Secret Service. We have Phil Armand who's here, and Pat Ferran, and I see Rob Agnew is here, but backgrounds from a variety of federal agencies, FBI, Secret Service, and local law enforcement. So tremendous team. It's done a great job pulling together about 35 different events across multiple venues. So it's been a pleasure to join this team. So now let's get to the nuts and bolts of why we're here. You've already heard about the public sector and federal assets that are here, but also in addition to that, for these events, the National Football League has hired in excess of 4,000 private security and crowd management personnel, in addition to a staff of private security experts that will assist us in coordinating the security for these events. You've seen some of that already with Super Bowl Live and Experience. But the most important part of our security plan is the fan, and the fans that come informed and prepared to our events. So that's where we ask the media to help us in passing along the important information that can have our fans show up on game day prepared for our events. So first and foremost, come prepared. We have a website that you can go to that will have all of the things that I'm going to talk about on it, what you can and can't bring, and where you can go, and how you should arrive, that I'll give you at the end. But pay attention to all of this signage and all of the things that you see when you arrive. So the parking lots, if you're coming by car, the parking lots open at 11 a.m. But remember that parking is extremely limited. All parking is pre-sold, and no recreational vehicles will be allowed. A little different than regular game day. There will not be any barbecuing, cooking out, table setups allowed in the parking areas as well. Stadium gates open at 1 p.m. and kickoff is at 5:35. The fans can expect the following security measures. When you enter, you will walk through metal detectors. Most items can't be carried into the stadium. Fans will be permitted to carry the following style and size bags. This is consistent with most of our game day operations. So if you're typically, when you're coming to Super Bowl, you've been to a few football games, so it's pretty consistent. The following style and size bags when you approach the entry gates are permitted. Bags that are clear plastic, vinyl, or PVC that do not exceed 12 by 6 by 12. 1 gallon clear plastic freezer bags also are permitted. Small clutch bags, approximately the size of one hand, with or without a strap. A small clutch bag can be carried into the stadium along with one of the clear bag options. An exception will be made for medically necessary items after proper inspection at the gates, specifically if designed for that purpose. Prohibited items include, but are not limited to, purses, coolers, briefcases, backpacks, fanny packs, cinch bags, luggage of any kind, computer bags, camera bags, large traditional seat cushions that have pocket zippers, compartments, or covers, or any bag that is larger than the previously stated permissible size. Fans can expect a pat-down search and they pass through metal detectors when they arrive. We do ask that fans remove in advance large metal objects, cell phones, prior to approaching the screening gates. We have no capacity to store prohibited items, so if you get to the gates and you have prohibited items on you, you have two options. Take them back to your car or home, or they have to be disposed of. We don't have a place to store them. Also, please remember that camera lenses longer than 6 inches are prohibited. Prohibited items list is available on our website, as I mentioned, superbowl.com. So please, if you have any questions, take the time to review those items. It was mentioned briefly before, but I want to mention again, ticket fraud is extremely prevalent during high-profile events, and Super Bowl is not exempt from that. So make sure that you purchase tickets from known sources. So buyer beware. If you're buying from a third party, you don't know what you're getting. And every year at Super Bowl, there are some very heartbroken fans that show up with counterfeit tickets and are not permitted in. So please make sure that you purchase your tickets from the official NFL sites and not from third parties. Ticket theft is also common, so take measures to protect your ticket if you have one, all the way up till you're in through that gate from theft. You heard Art talk about pickpocketing and other potential things that can happen as you start to enter the crowds coming on game day. While the level of security here is high, there should only be moderate inconvenience and no inconvenience, quite frankly, if everybody heeds those precautions coming to the game. We strongly do believe that our fans will be safe, and we have no concerns after they enter, except for rooting for their favorite team. We want to thank you all for coming for this press conference, and we want to take questions. Every member of the panel is able to answer questions, but we would like to make sure that your questions are related to the Super Bowl. So I will go ahead and take questions, and if you have a specific person you want to direct it to, please direct that to the person you want to speak with.
We do have microphones here on the side. Please raise your hand and also identify yourself by name and outlet. Questions?
We did a really good job. There you go.
Hey, Frank Collin from NBC Boston. What does it mean that this is a Tier 1 national security event?
So there is and I don't know if the Deputy Secretary wants to jump in, but there is a system special events working group that collaborates together on very large special events to evaluate what level of security is required for those events. And in this case, the ratings go from 1 to 5, with 1 being the highest security rating, below a national special security event, but the highest along that rating scale. And so the Super Bowl is a level 1. So that means it is a very high profile and very high security committed event. So that's why we have all the federal assets here to support us.
Yeah, so Kathy did a great job of explaining what it is, but what it allows us to do is bring all the might that the federal government has to bear to help Kathy and her team and the city of Houston make this a safe and secure event. So what it allows us to do is bring, like I said earlier, over 41 departments, law enforcement, intelligence assets. So we have a variety of capability that we brought in support of this event. Everything from more canine teams, more Viper units. We're providing air support for the event, cybersecurity support for the event, all the capabilities that the federal government has.
In the front.
Thank you. Christine Brennan, USA Today. Does President Trump's executive order on immigration coming so close to the Super Bowl make a security breach more likely or less likely? Thank you.
I have no concerns related to that for security breach-wise, no. From my perspective, no.
May I follow up?
Sure.
With protests around the country, are you concerned about protests here? And what are you doing specifically? Because obviously the Super Bowl, as you said, is quite a target.
Sure.
Thank you.
I'll let the chief answer that question.
Thanks.
I'll take that one, Art Osler, the Chief of Police. We're not concerned with protests. We have a really long history of having responsible activists in our community that has a long-standing working relationship with the Houston Police Department, our special response group that handles mass demonstrations and crowd control will be heavily deployed. But most importantly, we actually have open lines of communication. The one thing that I did say at a press conference yesterday to those that might want to come in from the outside to cause problems in Houston, know this: you will be greatly outnumbered by activists that care about their message, that care about what they want to convey, and they don't want their protest, if there is one, and more likely there will be, to be hijacked by anyone that comes here to cause problems. They will be the first ones to stand up to anybody. I think they'll do it before the police department does. But we're ready.
Thanks, Art.
Pooja Lodia with ABC here in Houston. Could you talk a little bit about, the last time we had a Super Bowl here was in 2004. Do you see any differences? Do you see heightened security now than back in 2004?
Well, since I wasn't here in 2004, I will say, in general, security changes daily. We, in the public safety security world, monitor threats and worldwide events, and our security has to constantly change. So I'd say I'm sure there are differences from 2004, but although there's differences in security, and it may even be a higher level of security, technology has allowed us to make security a lot more convenient and a lot more accessible. So I think that the level of security we have here is very tight, but also allows for people to come in here and be comfortable passing through, coming to the event. I would say since 2004 nationally, yes, security posture has changed. Yes. Ryan?
We've gotten a lot of phone calls, as you can imagine, about low-flying helicopters over the city. Can you address that?
Art?
Well, listen, those are Big Brother keeping us safe. So it's the federal government. Customs is helping us out with the aircraft, and they've got a mission that we're not going to say specifically what their mission is, but they're actually working with us to keep the city safe. So nothing to be worried about. And it's Houston PD. We actually tweet what we're doing now with Fox. So that's just our federal partners monitoring the environment and monitoring the operational area.
Thank you.
And I'll second that, Chief. There's absolutely nothing to be concerned about. It's just routine monitoring.
Yes, in the back. So again, I'm going to defer to the chief, but I think protests have always.
Yeah, I think I'd have to disagree with you on that. I think that anytime you have the eyes of the world on one location, whether it's a Super Bowl, you have to prepare and expect some type of protest. So that's always been part of our operational plan. We've always had contingencies in place, but so we don't anticipate any problems. That's always been part of our plan.
Yes. We're here.
Evan Drellick with the Boston Herald. I think this might be best directed for Mr. Turner. There was a plot on the Galleria that was foiled about a year ago. Did that in any way raise the level of concern for the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I didn't really hear your question, sir. Could you
Can you repeat your
There,
question?
there was a plot on the Galleria, a potential terror attack on the Galleria that was foiled, and there was an arrest made. Did that at the time and leading up to this raise the level of concern for the Super Bowl?
No, sir. We practice. We've been practicing, preparing for this event over the past 2 years. We've had several tabletop exercises. We take all those scenarios into consideration. So to answer your question, we're preparing for every type of scenario possible. So it did not. It's just the way we prepare for an event like this.
Let me throw something out. I just want to throw out something, especially to our visitors. You know, this is a big city, and any big city, you have a challenge with property crime. The biggest problem we've had so far is people coming from out of town and leaving their backpacks with their computers and everything in the car. If you're going to go eat somewhere, you know, go ahead and take it inside with you at the restaurant. If you're going to come out to the Super Bowl on Sunday, don't leave the stuff in your car. Make sure you secure it. You know, hide it, lock it, or take it with you. And then even at your hotel rooms, anywhere in the country when you have a major event, sometimes thieves will travel the country. This is not a Super Bowl thing. This is a major event thing. If it's a tech conference, they know there'll be a lot of computers at the hotel room. And they'll break in the hotel rooms. So just be cognizant of the property theft issue and make sure you secure your property, whether you leave it in your safe at the room or lock it in your trunk. Just be aware of that.
Any other questions? Okay.
With such a large gathering outside with the Super Bowl live, are there any lessons you learned as far as securing that area from the Boston Marathon bombings?
You want to take that, Art?
Well, I think if you look at any large gathering since the Boston incident and that tragedy, is that you're going to see a lot of officers in uniform, and you're going to see a lot of assets, including EOD units and dogs that will be sweeping everything outside of the perimeter. But the most important piece is that what you won't be seeing. You won't be seeing plainclothes officers. You won't be seeing undercover officers. You won't be seeing the cameras and the technology that we'll be utilizing. But ever since Boston, everything's changed. And so, in answer to your question about security has been heightened since 9/11 at all these public events. And as the threats and the nature of the threat and the nature of the attacks continue to evolve, our security measures not only continue to evolve to deal with those new methods to target our community, but we're also trying to be in front of it and actually try to think, what haven't we thought of? And there's a lot of things that we hadn't thought of before that we're thinking about today that we're implementing. Tomorrow we'll have people from other places in this country that are having their own Super Bowl, and they will be here with us, learning from us just like we learned from other cities. And so it's constantly evolving.
Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports. Just sort of piggybacking on that idea of evolving your security measures. Over the last year, we've seen some international incidents where trucks have been weaponized, Nice, France, Berlin, Germany. Given that large crowds gather at the Super Bowl, what have you done to, I guess, sort of evolve to deal with that threat, given these seem to be one-off situations?
Well, first of all, intelligence is really important. Our federal partners and our state and county and local intelligence agencies are doing a really good job of monitoring the threat streams from around the region, the state, and the country, and the world. But the second piece you'll notice is that we actually have concrete Jersey barriers. I think that in years past, you might have seen that we'd use water barriers, and quite frankly, the only people that are going to stop for water barriers are people that want to stop for water barriers, especially when you see the new tactics being employed. So we've had to up it's more costly, but we've had to up our tactics and change our tactics to harden these targets. But at the end of the day, the number one deterrent and the number one opportunity we have to disrupt or prevent any of these issues is the public. And it's the relationship with the public, and it's the trust that we build with the public. And so, again, I think the sheriff said it, Mr. Turner said it, Secretary said it. Anything that seems unusual, we all have this gut instinct that God's given us. If something doesn't feel right, something seems out of place, whether it's a vehicle, a package, or a person, this is not the time to keep it to yourself. Make sure you tell law enforcement so we can check it out.
I'd just add that we have almost 3 miles of security perimeter around our venues. So we've put extensive security perimeters in place to try and make sure that we have prepared to keep all our fans and attendance at all of our events safe. So we follow a best practice standard for our regular game day operations for securing our stadiums during normal game day operations. And that security perimeter is all the environment around the activities that are for the Super Bowl, very similar to game day, only a little bit farther out. All those activities around these Super Bowl events. So on Super Bowl day, game day, there is a lot of activities, the Fan Fest Plaza. There is other buildings, other facilities there, the arena that have other events going on. All of those things are going to be inside of a hardened security perimeter. Okay? All right, any more questions? One last one.
The Super Bowl's a party.
Yes, the Super Bowl is a party.
I'm translating for you.
Thank you, Chief Ardes Vito.
That's what makes me the best chief in the country. I'm bilingual.
Muchos fans de México van al Super Bowl cada año. ¿Qué mensaje le da el Departamento de Policía de Houston a esos fanáticos que vienen por parte de México y the message of the NFL for the people, the fans, the Mexican fans, comes to Super Bowl every
That's
year?
all the Spanish you know, Art.
Sí. Bueno, al público de México, de Latinoamérica y todos los hispanos y latinos le decimos que aquí estamos disponibles para decirle bienvenidos. El Departamento de la Policía de Houston está aquí para protegerlos, servirlos y estamos alegres que van a visitarnos. Así que adelante, que aquí está en su casa. They said the NFL is really cool, and I hope they're hiring.
Thank you.
No, I'm kidding.
Nicolás
All right, thank
Quintero
you.
de
Got it.
Telemundo 40. Una de las grandes preguntas que tienen la mayoría de hispanohablantes es cómo podrían personas que precisamente no dominan el inglés y que vienen a este tipo de eventos, cómo o a dónde se podrían comunicar en caso de que llegue a suceder o que lleguen a notar algo extraño dentro de él.
Marca el 911 aquí en los Estados Unidos y en la ciudad de Houston. Si marca el 911, no importa si qué idioma hable, tenemos intérpretes que pueden decirnos todo lo que necesitan. En nuestro centro de comunicaciones siempre tenemos agentes que hablan español. El sheriff, yo, el FBI, todos tenemos agentes que hablan en español. And in English, so the question was about for foreign visitors that don't speak Spanish, or they speak Spanish, don't speak English, how can they get help? And I said, Mark, just call 911. We have Spanish speakers on 24/7. And for anyone from anywhere in the world that's coming, we have translation services available for any language that's spoken. So if it's spoken, we have the services. It might take us a minute or so to get to the more, I think, probably rare languages are spoken here, but we can take calls for help from anybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I will let you get your third and last question.
This is my very last. Sorry, Chief, we have a Telemundo station as well. Can you just give us a general comment about Super Bowl security in Spanish, please?
Sure. Do you want me to do it from the podium or no?
Come on, Art.
No, let's do it from the podium. Bueno, es muy importante que sepan que el partido es este domingo. Estamos listos. La seguridad aquí de la ciudad de Houston, nuestros compañeros del nivel nacional, federal, estatal, del condado y local, estamos listos y aquí estamos listos para decirle bienvenido a la ciudad de Houston. Estamos bien alegres que lo van a visitar y acuérdese que aquí está en su casa. Si tiene algún problema, marque el 911, que hablamos español. Y más importante, acuérdese que hay muchos ladrones que si está dejando sus cosas en su carro, por favor no lo deje. Ponga sus cosas bien seguras para que no tengan ningún problema. Anything else in Spanish? Okay, guys, thank you.
Thank you, Art. Thank you very much.
Maria Castarpe is my flag. You know who Maria is?